All right. So, first, apologies are in order. I woke up this morning and realized I've been streaming for 17 hours. So, to my 9 viewers that tuned in, I hope you didn't stick it out, and I apologize. Again, I'm spending the next year or so trying to figure out a nice routine for my streams. Actually, this year's the year where I'm going to refine everything, put together a nice little package for you guys, some edited YouTube videos, and clean up all my social media accounts so that you guys can have some resource that you can check into when you want to learn about or discuss anything and everything to do with digital art for games, films, TV, visual effects, you name it, animation. So yeah, this particular stream, I've got to do this presentation. And so I just finished writing it last night. And I'm going to give it a dry run, but I thought I'd put this on the stream as well, just in case you guys are a little bit curious. So we're going to be talking about narrative in games. This is a 10-minute version, so it doesn't cover everything that I want to discuss. I'm really super passionate about this topic. I think I will prep a sort of extended version of this where we can get really into a deep dive situation to talk about narrative in games. Now, it's a really, really vexing problem. It has been since I started playing games in the 80s, since the success of Myst and the failure of Wing Commander. Well, I don't think Wing Commander was really a failure. But yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that. But this is a 10-minute flurry that hits on the key points that I want to sort of talk about. So bear with me. Again, I just finished writing this as a first dry run. I might do a couple of dry runs on here, and as per usual, you guys are welcome to feedback on everything. Oh, and I keep wanting to try this. Nobody's tuned in yet. That's cool. It's all right. I just want to see if this kind of thing will work. I've got a Twitch live chat attached to my Discord server that's associated with this. Where I will kind of operate it like sort of a radio call-in kind of show. Actually, perhaps for the dry run presentation, I'll leave it off. But in future, I will have that running in my streams so that you guys can pipe in if you're not too shy and just say, hey, what's up? How's it going? Can you talk about this? And we can have a few interesting discussions about that. So actually, I will leave that off. But what I was going to say, any feedback or critique, well, not critique, but just sort of suggestions on this, that, or the other thing, yeah, feel free to drop it in the chat. I hesitated with the word critique because that's a whole other stream about critical critiquing, professional critiquing. I'll get into that. I'll talk a little bit about how we deal with that sort of thing in the industry. Now, let's. I'm going to set up to slide 1. I've got my notes here on this screen, and we will take it from there. Now, I will be relocating from the car, so you may see a different background in the months ahead. And you will probably see a wonderful return to 16:9. You can see the 16:9 aspect ratio because I'm broadcasting on my second monitor. We've been 4:3 up until now because I've been using a very old Cintiq tablet of mine. But that will sort itself out in a month or two. Okay, so let's talk about narrative in games. You guys ready? You guys ready? I'm ready. All right. Okay. Oh, hold on to something. Here we go.
Oh, no. Sarah. Move your hands, baby. I know, baby, I know. Listen to me. I know this hurts you. You're gonna be okay, baby. Stay with me. I want to pick you up. I know, baby. I know it hurts. Come on, baby, please. I know, baby. I know. Sarah. Baby. Don't do this to me, baby. Don't do this to me, baby. No. 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 Please.
Man, I remember the first time my son got badly hurt. Oh, it is not working.
Oh no.
Why is that not? It's open the MP3. So we've run into our first issue with this. It's gone directly to the MP3, which we didn't want to do. So let's come back out of this. Talk about a buzzkill, hey? All right. So F11 to come out of full screen. So how come that did not do its thing? Okay, I'm going to reset this. We'll take it from the top. This is the whole point of it. I'm trying to find the rhythm of it. Okay, so I'm going to pause, reset my timer, and let's go again, guys. I will just, I see, it's clicked on that as if it were a link. But if I click off of it, will it start? Nope. How come it does not start? So we're on slide 1 here. So I'm going to investigate that in terms of what is happening, because we don't want that. Let's do that now, actually. So we don't want a situation where this guy links to an exterior window. So what is happening? Show link details. So I don't want that. Let's is there a properties? Okay, formatting options maybe? No. Okay, irregardless, this seems like a link. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to change this. I'm going to version it up to 3 just in case, because I'm doing some changes to this guy. So let's pull that out. And is it a default functionality of insert video? I don't know, but hopefully not. Hopefully not. So I'm going to go over to my Google Drive. Now, just a brief little talk about this while I load up the old Google Drive. The way I've organized this is via Google Slides, and I've made sure all of my links to my images and videos all exist in the same directory location. So let's see, we want to go to my drive. No, it's not shared drives. Got a bit of a brain freeze here. What I want to do is I want to navigate, and it's showing me all the videos on my drive. That's not what I want. Where's my folder structure? Crazy. Well, okay, there we go. So let's select that. Okay. So ideally, I must have accidentally linked the video, but ideally that should do it for me. I do want to touch on this because I think it's pretty important when you're looking at presentations and giving presentations. So let's pop over to I've mounted my Google Cloud Drive here as a drive using Ray Drive. And so if I go to my global, let me pull this up. Just want to pop in here because it's easier to navigate. Oh, actually, I'll leave it for now. It seems to be, wow, we're having some bandwidth issues today. Never mind. Topic for another time. I am getting distracted, guys. So I'm going to do presenter view. And we're going to pop this over here. Right? So let's give this another go. And let's see how far we get. Okay, so I'm going to pause, reset my timer. And here we go. All right, hold on to something. Here we go.
Oh no. Sarah. Move your hands, baby. I know, baby, I know. Listen to me, I know this hurts. You're gonna be okay, baby. Stay with me. I want to pick you up. I know, baby, I know it hurts. Come on, baby, please. I know, baby. I know. Sarah. Baby. Don't do this to me, baby. Don't do this to me. No. 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 Please.
I remember the first time my son got badly hurt. He was screaming, a sharp, bone-chilling sound that sliced right through me. He was begging me, "Dad, make it stop." And you know what? I was powerless. In that moment, I was Joel. And in his daughter's death, I bore witness to an unforgettable game mechanic that resonated for me for years. Okay, so let's break it down and take it down. Let's really examine how AAA games achieve this sort of excellence in mechanics. If you've been asked to name the greatest game of all time, you'll more than likely state that it's subjective. Well, of course it is. If it isn't, the game failed on every level. You see, subjectivity is an emotional response, a personal relationship between you and the franchise, or you and the genre. Excellence of execution goes beyond quirky gameplay or a clever mechanic. It resides in the ability to elicit the desired emotional response from your target audience. That's it. You must make them the subject of your game. The last thing you want to do is have your audience look at your game objectively. The best thing that could happen is that the characters become a part of their lives in a way that touches them deeply for years to come. So what is excellence? How do we achieve it? Well, an impactful emotional experience not only fosters a personal connection to a game, it builds a powerful cultural identity along with it. This is because our emotions provide the clearest, straightest line to discovering our own utility and ultimately our own self-actualization. Well, this sounds lofty. After all, it is just escapist entertainment. You know, heroes and villains in a battle between right and wrong. Right and wrong. The very basis of moral reasoning behind human existence. Now there's a problem with that. What is right? Doing what you know is right no matter what the consequences, or do what you know is wrong for the greater good? Do the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one? Or do the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many? Whose side are you on? Jeremy Bentham for the greater good, or Immanuel Kant for duty, honor, and your very soul? Boy, this sounds a lot like English class discussing theme. Of course, isn't that what we're ultimately seeking? The meaning behind human existence, as defined by what is morally right and wrong. Games, movies, televisions, novels, they are the arena, the proving ground for us to test our moral suppositions in a synthetic field of combat. Chris Crawford spoke of a T-shaped design, depth, breadth, seeking deeper gameplay systems whilst exploring a larger array of thematic emotions. Jonathan Blow coined the term dynamical meaning from the experience of deriving a narrative from a series of well-designed mechanics. And Fumito Ueda evangelized design by subtraction, where mechanics were slowly stripped away from a design if they failed to support the theme. So have I just walked you backwards into that tired old argument of story versus gameplay? I did. For the explicit reason to prove that the most important mechanic in a game is the narrative mechanic, even in purely systemic designs. And to show you that the story versus gameplay argument doesn't exist because the two are the same. Think about it. In its simplest, most undiluted form, story is a problem that needs to be solved. And Warren Spector once said that you should give players problems, not puzzles. The fictional proving ground of games and stories allows the audience to engage via experiential learning with actively solving those high-risk, high-reward problems we face in life as we travel up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Because that is the end goal. That is the meta problem that we are trying to solve in our lives. And a great narrative mechanic gives us the opportunity to do just that within the safe confines of fiction. So then, what's the problem? Well, ludonarrative dissonance, where gameplay and story and avatar and player are misaligned. Nothing is more frustrating than a cheesy cutscene right at the apex of an adrenaline-filled moment of gaming invincibility, or a badly repetitive resource gathering requirement at the height of dramatic fulfillment. This happens in stories as well, by the way. It's called a MacGuffin, where what is dramatically important to the characters is misaligned with what is dramatically important for the audience. I mean, did anyone really truly care about what happened to the Tesseract? Well, there was one game out there that came the closest to recalibrating our sense of story and gameplay through its brilliantly executed narrative mechanics. Naughty Dog's The Last of Us. Its wonderful amalgamation of Resident Evil and Ico, where the game tackled one of the most dangerous pitfalls of ludonarrative dissonance, the companion. Although Ico succeeded in tying the health and well-being of the player to the companion Yorda, never really succeeded in releasing the player from feeling obligated to protect their charge, as opposed to being motivated by an emotionally driven desire. Resident Evil 4's Ashley was an attempt to capture what Ico had so brilliantly achieved, but only succeeded in creating a far more annoying charge that also ended up working double duty in misogyny as well. Well, a good narrative sequence can set the tone for a given mechanic. Here's how it's done. And that video didn't work either, did it? Yeah, it linked too. That's cool. We'll go back.
Watch your step as you're going up. It's gonna be loose.
There we go. Deceptively short and simple. Masterful narrative design. How so in what amounts to be an unremarkable clip? Well, number one, on a story level, it describes Joel and Ellie's somewhat troubled relationship, a relationship that grows as Joel comes to terms with the death of his daughter, Sarah. 2, it releases the player from the burden of having to monitor Ellie's every move by sending the clear message that the companion, to a certain degree, will take care of themselves. 3, it's nod to the meta-narrative that echoes the contempt players have for overly long and laborious tutorial levels, acknowledging the importance of gameplay through experiential learning. And 4, well, mansplaining. And that wide shot shows just how much jeopardy surrounds Ellie and just how confidently she maneuvers through this world. At first glance, The Last of Us seems to follow the framework of its heavily cinematic wannabe predecessors in the Uncharted franchise. By focusing heavily on story elements, The Last of Us seems to give us a framework of tried and true mechanics. Health packs that balance risk-reward with a timer, resource gathering and management, showing very little innovation in terms of mechanical design, not a stone's throw away from the Uncharted mechanics. However, it's when we look at the inclusion of the Find the Ladder contextual challenge, coupled with the sonar mechanic, that we start to get a glimpse of what the designers discovered in terms of narrative mechanics. And that is, the heavy lifting of the narrative is done by the environment. There's a decreased emphasis on locomotion mechanics, player physics, and AI, to conversely emphasize the dynamical meaning that begins to build in the narrative mechanics. Whether it's utilized for simple exposition, cleverly timed during a moment of slow player interaction, or a tutorial encased in a dramatic moment, as when our principals encounter a clicker for the first time. The narrative puts the clicker in pursuit, never far behind, and in this upshot, giving all kinds of screen power to the clicker right on top of them until the player spots the object in the corner. A secondary character grabs a similar nearby object and demonstrates what needs to be done. And there's your bottle, or if you prefer, a brick. The sonar allows you to place the enemy AI in context. The sonar allows you to place the enemy AI in context to your environment and allows you to constantly keep tabs on Ellie's location. Because of the narrative moment earlier where Ellie demonstrated her independence, we know that we can freely engage the challenge of the clicker, but we never lose sight of the fact that we need to protect her. This is emotionally reinforced by the opening cinematic where Joel's daughter dies in his arms. So how does this culminate in our derivation of theme? Whose side are we on? Jeremy Bentham or Immanuel Kant? Whose side are we on? Jeremy Bentham or Immanuel Kant? The Last of Us stands firmly rooted in its theme. Marlene represents consequentialist reasoning. She has no problem killing an innocent 14-year-old girl to save humanity.
Please.
Joel
You just come out.
doesn't agree. Is his murder of Marlene right or wrong? That's what's so vexing, controversial, and polarizing about The Last of Us. You see, our classic sense of the hero is the Jungian derivation. We need to save the universe. Therefore, the universe demands a utilitarian sacrifice. But it is not morally wrong to choose the ones you love. The world will simply have to find another way. Abraham need not sacrifice his son to achieve holiness. And this moral dilemma between consequentialist and non-consequentialist reasoning is what makes The Last of Us confounding, revealing, infuriating, ambiguous, and ultimately unforgettable. So does The Last of Us stand as an exemplary demonstration of the pinnacle of interactive narrative mechanics? Or is it just another linear movie encapsulated in the dressings of a video game? Well, consider this. A single, strategically placed game prop foreshadowed one of the most memorable cinematic moments in game history, proving without a doubt that game elements and cinematic elements can indeed unfold together in the same narrative direction with the same emotional power. And when it works, we as an audience can celebrate these moments with our characters, or we can share in their loss. In that way, a simple narrative mechanic can transcend itself and become a truly profound experience. The Last of Us did exactly that. 12 minutes, 45 seconds, guys. There was a couple of hiccups there, but I need to shave 2 minutes and 45 seconds off that presentation. Walking it through out loud, stumbling blocks included, I did see a couple of areas that I could trim back, change the language a little bit, and fix up some of the video links. So that was quite interesting, kind of running through that. I should treat you guys as if you're there live watching me so that I can sort of practice how to deal with stumbling blocks. But yeah, we'll get to that. Okay, well, thanks for kind of following along with this dry run. Again, if you've got any notes or feedback, feel free to drop them in the chat, and then I'll take it from there. I might pop in again, do maybe 2 or 3 more dry runs if you guys don't mind. And yeah, leave me to it. I'm going to make some changes. And